Yeah, again, thank you, everybody. We will go live on social media as well. This is part of the monthly EdTech Founders Network and Meetup. This is the third such meetup, and we thought, why not have a panel with some of the experts and those who have been working with many EdTechs. So over to you, Madan.
Thanks, Vinay. What time did we finish? 1 o'clock sharp?
So 12:45, 45 minutes.
Okay, good. Got it. Great. Okay. Are you going to start the recording now? In progress. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our outstanding panel discussion today on how best can emerging EdTechs compete with EdTech Unicorns. My name is Madan from YourStory and from TIE Bangalore. And joining us, we have 4 outstanding panelists. We have Rahul Gupta, VC from Times Internet. Welcome aboard, Rahul.
Thanks so much, Madan.
Anjali Sosale, partner from Waterbridge Ventures, is also with us. Hi, Anjali.
Hi, Madan. Good to be here.
And we have Dr. Jasmine Gupta, National Head at Equitech. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, Madan. Good morning.
And also rounding up the panel is Sathyanarayana BV or Satya, CEO of AIC-Great Lakes, ex-startup Karnataka. Welcome aboard, Satya. Great to see you again.
Hey, thanks, Madan. Nice to be here.
Fantastic. So we got about 45 minutes and 4 experts with different perspectives on this whole EdTech sector. So let's begin with our first question, which is, we seem to be slowly coming out of the pandemic now. It's sort of the end of the second wave, hopefully no second and third waves and all that. But do you see some changes now? Will people start going back to their older behaviors? Will there be less online behavior, especially in education, as earlier? Let's start off with you now. Should we begin with Rahul? Rahul, over to you.
Thanks, Madan. I think there's no doubt that would we see, certain behaviors getting back, However, I think founders are always much more smarter than, we on the other table of the, we on the other side of the table are, right? And hence, most founders would be solving pain points that essentially, are true pain points per se. Whether it's we see a bunch of extracurricular activities, getting online, right? So would some of them, of course, would they drop out? Would they get, because those 24 hours is it's the same 24 hours with kids and parents, right? So now a bunch of them get back to school, right? And there's some time going in transportation. So and kids would start going back to, also some kind of play time. So are we going to see a reduction of their screen time? Maybe yes. But then there are a lot of parents, and I'm speaking this because I've been researching particularly on this, right? There are a lot of things which are perhaps not taught at school, but parents are very, very interested in, right? Especially around cognitive skills, or a lot of parents focusing on, expanding their child's social circles, but not limited to their 500 meters or the same society they live in, right? So I feel that a lot of these are going to continue, right? Certain things that are focusing on cognitive areas, there's a lot of digital learning, which even pre-pandemic, adoption was high. Pandemic only accelerated that. I think it's going to be a mix. If you were actually solving the pain point, you'll only see, stickiness and retention. If it wasn't a hard pain point you were solving, definitely you'll see a fallback.
Thanks, Rahul, for those very important distinctions about what's going to happen in the transition period. How about you, Anjali? What's your take on this transition period?
Yeah, I think, of course, EdTech was the one sector that, because of the pandemic, witnessed, the most accelerated amount of digital adoption, I would say, in the last, 15 to 18 months now. But it's also this conundrum, I would say, of the haves and the have-nots, and those schools and business models that were able to quickly adopt to digital and continue learning for children was one side of the spectrum, and the other side of the spectrum was solving for something as basic as even access to learning and access to digital tools in order to even ensure continuous learning during the pandemic. So I think, yes, definitely some of these expectations from various stakeholders, parents especially, that having been through this difficult time of just seeing learning coming to a big halt because of lack of access, I think this set will definitely start beginning to expect that some of these changes continue, and some of these behavioral changes of expecting some amount of digital intervention continues as we hopefully, fingers crossed, ease out of the pandemic and as kids begin to get back into schools. But I think it is like opposite sides. Like one big problem is to just solve for access, and the other problem and the other side who had access, it was about supplemental education and continuity of learning.
Thanks, Anjali. How about you, Jasmine? As schools and offices begin to reopen, what are we going to see in the EdTech space? Jasmine?
I think what Rahul mentioned and what Anjali mentioned, I'm very much in sync with their thoughts, wherein we feel that when schools and educational institutions will reopen, we will see a trend of blended learning. So digital learning is not going to go away. However, we will see a matured kind of learning wherein even educational institutions will go about adopting digital learning and see how they can give a blended experience to the students. Because I think 18 months has been a very long time, and students have got used to, and why not just students, even corporate learners, all of us have got used to learning the digital way. And hence that will be the expectation that will be expected when they go back to the institutions as well. And I think that's a big opportunity in itself, wherein the institutions will also have to align themselves. So I think it's a win-win for the EdTech companies and a win-win for the educational institutions as well as for the learners, where they can look forward to a lot of blending learning happening. Having said that, I think there are a lot of niche areas where EdTechs can add a lot of value, and we've seen lots of developments and innovation happening in this space. So, for example, artificial intelligence and analytics-based learning is one field. Gamification one field. We have seen solutions on AR, VR-based learning. So I think there are lots of new technologies coming in. There are immense opportunities for EdTechs to capitalize in a lot of niche segments of learning. And of course, we can deliberate more on them as we move forward in the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jasmine, for pointing out all those opportunities. How about you, Satya? What's your take on this transition period?
I mean, I think, see, the digital platforms have completely evolved. They've got their business, they've captured the markets. But I think as the pandemic is easing out, I personally feel that the EdTech is a big field, right? You have B2B, B2C, and you have the school and colleges, and then the aftermarket programs. I feel the schools and college market will try to roll back to what it was, because that's where the kids are also feeling that they're overburdened. It's too much of an overkill for the kids to sit in front of the computer for 6 hours. I can see my daughters doing that. They're waiting for the schools to open up, right? And the schools are also slowly, conveniently used the platforms, but they have not used the innovations with respect to the startups which have come out, right? Because they don't want to alter their traditional course curriculum or anything like that. Now, that is something which is very important, which the startup founders have to understand, that if they're operating in the school segment, they have to blend in their innovations to the curriculum in such a way that it will complement them. If it is somewhere competing with them, the schools will not open up for that innovation. Okay, and I feel the aftermarket programs will open up. It will tend to thrive, because it's more of a B2C decision making which is happening over there. Because I have been in the EdTech space on the executive education side. The decision makers are themselves who are actually part of, who are also going to enroll into the programs, and they are faster in that. Continuous education programs, executive education programs will tend to thrive. But I think the schools and colleges will slowly roll back. But they will continue to use the platforms. I'm not saying no, but innovations and innovative products may take time to penetrate.
That's a great piece of advice there, Satya. Complement, but do not compete with the existing systems in some cases. Let's now turn to the emerging startups in this space. Every day we see some news about an EdTech unicorn buying some other company, expanding to another space, expanding to another country. They're all capturing major market share. But do you still see some opportunities opening up for new entrants? We've got a lot of aspiring EdTech startups in the audience. What are some opportunities for them that you see coming up there? You want to begin with that one, Rahul?
Sure. Madan, I just wanted to take a second and say that, at least we at Times Internet, per se, don't think of EdTech as only EdTech and see it as a student life cycle, right? So right from kindergarten, and then K3, 5, essentially, primary school, and then, secondary, college prep, college admission, stay during college, student loan, job prep, and then, essentially your job search. So we see it as a full stack thing, which is, the common theme is education here, right? And sorry, I forgot tuitions in between as well. So it's a very, very large, and if anyone comes and says, hey, this is a X billion-dollar market, I wouldn't really want to even check that, because literally every category is a multi-billion-dollar category in itself. And hence, I don't think we'll only see these 4-5 unicorns at the moment, but we'll see many more unicorns within, let's say tomorrow, if you say that, hey, there's a Sunicorn in student loan space, I would totally agree to that, right? If there's going to be a Sunicorn in a student housing space, I would agree to that. College admissions within India and abroad in itself is a very, very large market. So I think there are enough niches. And within these, you can go even much deeper, right? Like within tuitions and after school, or essentially, extracurricular versus a co-curricular, right? Like Satya just mentioned, right? Most Indian parents have a psyche, essentially, that whatever my kid is learning also should have an outcome and should be related to the, what is taught in school. Maybe not the case in certain, Western, mindset of parents, essentially. Homeschooling in US is a multi-billion-dollar market, right? So building for that, right? Like Quizzes is an incredible tool which is just targeting the US, right? And I'm very bullish on the company that's going to become like a really, really large EdTech out of India. So EdTech in India is poised to be, the tutoring capital of the world as well, given our accents, given the amount of people essentially that are tutors here. I feel whether it's just English learning or mathematics, Indians are known for maths worldwide, right? So many verticalized plays could also become very, very large. And all I'm trying to say is, like, there's a lot out there. Don't be afraid that there's a Byju's or an Academy. There's still, with just 1% done, there's 99% more. I am not scared that X is there and Y is there, so we shouldn't build. There's a lot more that could happen.
So Rahul, conversely, what do you think unicorns are going to be doing to strengthen their moat? They obviously are listening to this conversation with a lot of interest and seeing how do we go one up against these new startups. What would you say to them?
Well, I think they're already doing tons and tons of M&A. If you would see, we read every day that X bought Y and A bought B. I think that is what is happening, that tons of consolidation is happening. And that's why I think one very important, just to go back to the previous question, I think the only important thing we need to see is that, hey, are you building an adjacency for them where they're too large and too well capitalized for them to create a bottleneck, or versus you're creating something that's a bit distant to them, but yet a very large pain point, right? I haven't come across many companies building for homeschooling kids in the US, right? Like I said, if I'm correct, 1 in 6 students, I'm not too sure on this data point. I'll have to go back, but there's a very large number of students that are homeschooled in the US, right? All I'm trying to say is, like, if we find certain niches like this, that's not something our existing unicorns are going behind, because you'll have to create a very different solution for kids who are homeschooled, right? It's not the same solution that works in India that's going to work out for a kid in the US, right? Especially who's getting homeschooled. Maybe their needs is more social, just more interaction, which they are not getting because of being homeschooled. So yeah, as far as you're building something a little distant from them, and the existing ones, I feel, are just going behind continuous M&A play just to consolidate and kind of build a larger moat that they they don't shake up. That's what I feel.
Thanks, Rahul. How about you now, Anjali? What's your take on what can startups still do, or what are existing unicorns going to take over? Anjali?
Yeah, I think Rahul mentioned just the massive market that EdTech is, and as well as the fact that it straddles everything from preschool all the way up to adult learning, and then even continuous learning, upskilling, everything. So it is, I think, the point that it's a massive market with GDP plus growth rates, and of course inherently high inefficiencies makes it a very massive, formidable opportunity for entrepreneurs to pursue. But just want to make two more points to add on to that. One is, I think, the boldness of the Indian entrepreneur. I think all these solutions that are coming out of India are India-centric and India-first solutions. Whether you look at, a Byju's or a Vedantu who solved access to high-quality teachers, to high-quality digital content, or to an academy who's one of the first to use video as a solution. But all these business models are very suited to what the Indian stakeholders in the ecosystem, which here includes not just parents and students, but schools and administrators as well. I think that has made EdTech in India even more a very large and unique opportunity to solve for. And I think the second point is that just like with IT services, the Indian regulator has not really interfered with innovation in the sector. And I think just bringing in progressive policies like the NEP in 2020 is just huge green signals that there is tremendous opportunity for entrepreneurs to build across all the subsectors within, and there is enough market share for everyone to capture.
Thanks, Anjali. How about you, Jasmine? What's your take on what can startups do, or what are unicorns going to do?
Okay, so I think we have just 5 unicorns, and I think there is scope for 50 more. So there is tremendous opportunity available, and I think the EdTech startups can definitely look forward to next 10-15 years of run through in this market. I think there are immense opportunities for solutions which can be really innovative. Like, for example, there is scope for vernacular learning solutions. There is scope for interactive learning solutions. There is scope for micro learning solutions. Also, study now, pay later solutions. So I think the psychological, cognitive behavior assessment solutions that can help students to, career for recommending their careers, or for mental health awareness and monitoring. So I think the canvas is huge, and it's up to the EdTech startups to make it as large as possible in this space. And I would definitely want to add here that Equitech, which is our fintech accelerator by Equitas Bank, for the first time that we are launching, the first 2 themes that we have focused on is financial inclusion and EdTech. That itself says that banks are also looking at EdTech as a very prominent upcoming sector. And definitely we are looking forward to partner with a lot of EdTechs that can add value in helping us create solutions for educational institutions, colleges, schools, campuses, and at large. So I think the opportunity is immense, and we definitely look forward to a lot of unicorns coming in this space. And I think Rahul hit the nail right when he said the unicorns have the opportunity of mergers and acquisitions, and of course they are in a scale game now. So I think the game for each startup, for each unicorn as they grow in their journey, will always be a class to mass scaling up game, which I'm sure looking at the kind of population that we have in India, there's no dearth of scope and opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine, for that very encouraging note. Yes, there's lots of potential for more unicorns in this space. How do you see this, Satya, this whole opportunity for new startups and what unicorns can do in this space?
I think, I mean, now that I'm in the, with an educational institution and running an incubator in that, for the specifically to the point, what are the opportunities which are still open for new entrants? I think on the B2B side, the passage is still open for filling up the gaps on the hardware side. But on the B2C side, it's become a more challenging game because, it takes a lot to move the needle there because there's a high cost of customer acquisition cost and the, very low LTV there. Because I've been in the EdTech as an entrepreneur for the finishing side school, the marketing and scaling up activity, is a lot costlier for a startup compared to, innovating a product itself. So that is what I say for that point. And how the unicorns are, strengthening their moat, as Rahul said, a lot of mergers and acquisitions, consolidation, maybe strategic alliances with players in untapped market and who are doing good, who have a good value proposition. They're watching because, see, they can't do everything, and the only option is to either collaborate or acquire, and that we see clearly happening. We saw that happening with Great Learning, which is associated with Great Lakes, and on the other side, the unicorn acquired a traditional tuition, in Rajasthan. So why that's happening? So we see major two acquisitions happening. One is an online on the finishing side. On the other side, it is traditional business. So they're consolidating. As I said, there's a B2B, B2, and then there's another one called B2G segment. Now that is something which you can't just go and acquire. So it's better for you to collaborate or merge with the companies which are traditionally doing that from a long time, because I've seen the B2G segment companies have not ventured into B2C, and the B2C companies or the startups or the unicorns have not got into B2G for various reasons. Now we should see it's time whether they will venture into it or they'll acquire it. That's left to time. So we should wait and watch.
Thanks, Satya. These are some great insights. My next question is about traditional educational institutes. So I'll begin the next round of questions with you, Satya. Beyond the tech players, how do you see traditional educational institutes repositioning themselves for the digital age? Are there any good examples you can see? For example, India's got so many great schools, colleges, universities. They can start teaching globally, perhaps. So are you seeing any shifts in this kind of positioning for traditional players, Satya?
Very, very interesting and very, exciting question, because I would love to answer this question because I know from some friends of mine who own schools, and I know some schools I've studied where I've studied, and then I've known some schools where some teachers have joined where it's actually, these schools were planning to go digital 7-8 years back. So now there is an opportunity for these schools to go digital, but the traditional school, I feel, will still maintain their status quo, because they don't want to let go their pedigree completely. And then I don't think so. They have their market, and they have acquired their market, and they're safe and they're comfortable in that market. Look at NPSs of the world, look at other schools. They have not taken up any digital platform other than Zoom or Microsoft for their teaching. I've not seen that, and I don't think so they would do that. It's difficult, but again, it's time. There is maybe on the hardware side, on the wearable side, they would do, but not on the assistant side, teaching assistant side. See, I'm sure as a passionate driver, we would probably like if there are paddle shifters and if there are others in the car, but we would not like a voice assistant which is trying to tell us how to drive, because we want to make that decision of putting the pedal on the throttle, right? So I don't think so. The schools would actually look at having an assistive platform or assistive tech to the teachers, but they would like add-ons which can improve their efficiency.
Thanks, Satya. How about you, Jasmine? Do you see any opportunity in the way educational institutes are repositioning? Can startups look at these also?
So I can definitely would like to share from a banking or a finance perspective, wherein we've seen educational institutions looking forward to some innovative solutions in terms of offerings that they can give to students, to teachers for loans against salaries or easy EMI payments for fees. So these are some of the solutions that we've seen educational institutions are coming out in terms of payment solutions. And we've also come across some EdTechs, who are, creating some of these solutions. So I think there is definitely scope here in terms of payments. And I agree to, some extent what Satya mentioned, that schools and colleges, they have, they definitely take pride in the kind of learning that they offer, of the learning that they offer. So they would not like to go for any assisted learning. But yes, there are certain tools that they would definitely like to invest in. Like, for example, AR VR is one investment that schools and colleges can look forward to improve the quality of the learning that they offer to the students. Interactive learning, those digital blackboards, and those are some of the items that schools and educational institutions can look forward to invest in, because I think the students and the next generation will be looking forward to experiencing them in their school days.
Thanks, Jasmine. How about you, Anjali? What's your take on shifting positioning of educational institutes?
Yes, I think just pre-pandemic, and even the investment bets that we took at Waterbridge, in full disclosure that Unacademy was one of our first bets in education. But I think that if you saw that, thanks to back in the day, and almost like 15 years ago, EdTech in India had very humble beginnings with digital classrooms and smart whiteboards, blackboards, etc. And given that those models didn't really scale, the next wave of EdTech companies that came went direct to consumer, direct to students, and focused on the supplementary education and the after-school learning and content piece of it. And they kind of steered clear and away from going B2B and from the mainstream traditional institutions, as we call it. But I think what the pandemic has really done is made these institutions understand that, firstly, let's just address the displacement that the pandemic has caused. I think 40 to 50% of preschools have shut. Almost like 5-10% of affordable private schools have had to shut down, and up to, I think, 40-50% have not been able to either collect fees, or forget about increasing fees if they were not able to shift to online and start giving online learning during these last 1.5 years. So I think it's almost like forced them to kind of wake up and smell the coffee and realize that as kids return to school, that they will almost have to adopt technology, and maybe both these segments can't move in parallel. So I really think that an omni approach, and I think these tools will finally start merging together, and there will be a lot more platforms. And I think some of the work that companies like Lead School, etc., have done really stand to have high promise, because I hope that a lot of these institutes will now start adopting tech beyond just a school admin system or a fee collection system, but ensuring that there's no more disruption in learning, and both at home and in school, in the physical classroom environment, there is adoption of tech. But I hope to see more and more of these hybrid omni models coming into EdTech in the near term.
Thanks, Anjali, for sharing some of those harsh realities of institutions closing down, but also the potential of an omni-channel model. How about you, Rahul? What do you see in this educational institute space? Is there something worthy to look at for startups to ally with or partner with?
Madan, this reminds me of the old e-commerce days, right? When Flipkart and Amazon, kind of started to become big, right? All retailers kept saying, these e-commerce companies will kill us. These e-commerce companies will kill us, right? If you will go to any mom and pop shop, they'll say lesser and lesser people now come and they buy online, right? This is exactly the similar, situation for, educational institutions. While there are many, many examples of these institutions using digital tools now, whether that's for hosting classes, attendance, collecting fee, I'm sure there would be outliers, but I'm not aware of, anyone that has truly taken a leap to change their DNA overall, right? They would have kind of become digital first truly, right? Like become digital native and, kind of done an absolute overhaul, like you were saying that, thought of that, hey, while we were, doing something local, right? While we were physical, let's go global. In all honesty, nothing comes on my mind,
Thanks, Rahul. My next question is about one of the other issues we talked about a bit earlier, which is mergers and acquisitions in this space. What are some trends that you see in this M&A between large startups, new startups, or tech players and startups and so on? And what does this imply for those in the audience who want to become startups themselves? So can they sort of set up to be acquired? Is that kind of a logical path, or do they need to start looking out themselves for new startups to acquire? Rahul, what's your take on this M&A?
It's funny that I took the Flipkart Amazon analogy because, again, if I may take the same analogy, right? When Flipkart and Amazon happened, most VCs were saying that, hey, e-commerce is done, right? However, e-commerce has truly just begun, right? And if I may draw a parallel in another sense, right? The true digital adoption by Indians, Madan, has just begun, right? Like, I mean, thanks to Geo, right? Because had this pandemic happened 5 years back, the amount of kids that could still go online, right, and upskill themselves or attend a class online, wouldn't have been possible except the metros, right? I'm really glad that I wish the pandemic hadn't happened, but had it to be, this was the right time, not 5 years before, because I'm assuming that only probably 1/20th or 1/50th, actually, I'm really sorry, probably 1/10, 100, or even much more larger denominator of kids would have only attended the online classes. The rest of the children wouldn't have the privilege or tech or internet to essentially, go online and see it, right? So just the way e-commerce literally has begun, right? I think online education has also just begun, right, in the true sense. And while there are 5, 6 of e-commerce unicorns, and in a very similar fashion, we have 5, 6 EdTech unicorns, there's so much of vertical play that is just emerging. And I think Anjali mentioned, or Jasmine, I'm forgetting, someone mentioned that, nobody moved beyond Teams or Zoom. I think there's actually, right here on this call, we discovered maybe there's an opportunity to create a digital, live class, tool, but which could even give a lot more analytics, right? What is the attention of the child? Where is the child's attention actually getting, getting diverted and stuff like that, right? I think we just adapt to solutions which we feel are the best suited then and there, right? But there's so much more, right? Like, I mean, education, or maybe Zoom isn't the best tool to host online classes, right? It definitely deserves something far better, right? Which could help you with doubt solving, which could help with analytics, which could actually track that, is the kid browsing somewhere else? Is he or she reading somewhere else? Or is the kid's, while the screen is on, but is the kid actually watching a video on their phone, right? So I think opportunities are massive.
Thanks, Rahul. How about you, Jasmine? What's your take on M&A trends, M&A tips for the audience?
So there will always be opportunities to, collaborate and, enter into mergers and figure out the best possible offering that can be made in the market. So I think that the opportunity will always remain. So I think this is an industry which is as at a nascent stage. There is a lot more that can happen in this space. And if mergers and acquisitions are for the benefit of the EdTechs, for the benefit of the entire product proposition, which may come out to be much more better and for a larger scale, I think it will always make sense. So having said that, there is hardly any limit to the kind of innovations that we can look forward to. I think in this 30 minutes of forum, I think we've had enough of innovative examples, I think, shared by all the speakers. And of course, the limit here. So definitely we can look forward to more mergers and innovations in this space as the space grows.
Thanks, Jasmine. Anjali, what's your take on M&A opportunities and trends?
I think I have a slightly different view on this, and maybe the VC inside of me thinks that way. But I really think and hope rather that entrepreneurs will build independently for the long term, because I think the market is large enough, sizable enough to create not just 1 to 5, but multiple large outcomes, just given not just size in terms of TAM, but also in terms of various sectors and the scope for digitization. Like I said, that's still very, very early days. So I do think and hope that that will be the path, and that there'll be, like I said, multiple independent companies emerging. And I feel at least that I know looking at Byju's, this almost spent what, 2-3 billion this year alone on acquisitions. And I think they've acquired 15 or 16 companies in the last 2-3 years. But a lot of this has also been spent on overseas acquisitions. I think what the fine print that people misreading is that just to bridge the gap between value and valuation, a lot of the acquisitions have been just strengthening their foothold in North American markets. So I think at least specific to the Indian subcontinent, I really think there is scope and potential for large independent companies to emerge, and of course, value creation for founders is also significantly more when they take that path. So I hope that that's the path that founders will take rather than selling out early.
Thanks, Anjali, for that focus on value and not just valuation. Satya, what's your take on M&A?
I think it's we have seen that. So we have been seeing that with Byju's and others. They have acquired companies which had either sizable market which the company had acquired, or as Anjali said, they were in a segment where these people weren't there. So I think what I suggest startups is don't sell out early, and even the companies should not buy them out early, as Anjali said, because this is a long game. It's a marathon to go in EdTech, precisely because there are various components. Today, somebody is actually building a product which is a student-centric product, but somebody may be actually building a product which is teacher-centric, school-centric, and then nobody has thought out the products on the evaluation side, which can actually help evaluation becoming more easy and more, and artificial intelligence, where Rahul said, we don't know what the kid is doing. We don't know whether the kid is interested or not. When the kid is actually looking into the monitor screening 4 hours, I'm sure I had a meeting with my team for 2 hours and I really felt tired. Then I was thinking about my daughter who was sitting from 8:30 to 12:30. I don't know how she's doing it, right? So maybe there is that kind of disruption which you can gamify, something which is more of B2C, which is actually the purchase decision is with the parent or the student. I think those things will thrive than breaking your wall against the big institutions to give you an acceptance for your product and then adopt the product and buy it, and then all that pilots, so many things, because we've seen how startups journey is. I think the startup should actually focus on pull strategy than a push strategy. And then I think this game, especially in EdTech, I think it's easy to do that. I mean, if you're able to propose and give a value proposition where it's complementing to your fatigue or what you're doing in the school, I think it's great for startups to go ahead and do it, and then mergers, acquisitions will surely happen.
Thanks, Satya. For the last few questions before we go to the audience questions, I want to focus a bit more on the future. So we're sort of now in the last quarter of the year. It's going to be 2022 next, hopefully the new normal, the new abnormal, whatever it's called. So when you look into the future, what is maybe 1 or 2 key EdTech trends that you see emerging in the field, which startups should take a look at? Rahul?
I just want to say, about probably 3 or 4 things that I have in mind, right? I think building trust is going to be one of the most important things EdTechs going further would have to win, right? Essentially, most parents send their kids to a DAV, a DPS, or some kind of an institution which is essentially a brand, right? and that brand building wins their trust. So there've been mixed things around brand building in the past few years. I think building that safe brand is going to be extremely crucial. Second part is, I think a lot of gamification is going to only become more and more important, right? I think third part is live classes. I'm not saying are going to go away, but live classes are essentially expensive. We would see live classes, but I think we would see live classes changing into something like pre-recorded, but with a little bit of human touch and AI. It's difficult, but that's why it is so important. And I think whoever creates that is probably not going to become a unicorn, but a much more than a decacorn, because that's where you take the cost substantially low, and hence it becomes a product that could be adopted by many more. And probably the fourth thing I want to say is personalization, which technically is also what I said before, that a bit of human touch and bit of AI, which could help evaluate and assess from time to time, right? Like most edtechs would assess at the beginning and not like continuously. I think that's a very important thing to do, so that that, hey, we're not teaching all the students exactly the same thing, but probably those concepts or those questions which they need more focus on. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Rahul. Anjali, what's your quick take on a couple of trends emerging in EdTech space?
I think some of the, I just like to focus on the teacher side of things. I think what the pandemic did was put teachers front and center and focus. We didn't interact so much with administrators as much as with teachers. And so I think teachers are not going to get back to their old inefficient ways of be it homework, be it assignments, be it grading. And I think as basic as a Google form or a Zoom class was, they will expect that some of these digital tools continue. So I think anybody who's trying to build a more sophisticated toolkit centered around making a teacher's life more efficient, I think that's something which is definitely exciting. I think the inertia that was faced by startups trying to sell into this segment pre-pandemic, that's definitely gone away, and teachers are suddenly championing digital toolkits. And I think on the parent side, as much, again, we have this dichotomy in India. We have parents who have the access, but are now solving for things like supplementary education, extracurricular, more holistic learning beyond just academics to life skills, etc. So that's one segment. And the second segment is parents who just lost these 2 years because of lack of access, and therefore want, I would say, not live classes, because as Rahul said, that is expensive for a parent in India to pay for, but more product-led, asynchronous, mobile first, learning, products for that segment to just not, I would say, make up for the lost time, but just help them accelerate their learning as they ease back into classrooms. So I think the old ways of a physical classroom and notebook is long gone. There will be expectations from both teachers as well as parents and students on a more digitally enabled classroom.
Thanks, Anjali. How about you, Jasmine? Any couple of quick takes you want to take on the emerging trend?
Okay, I think a couple of them from my side would be solutions which can enable cashless campuses, solutions which are focused on micro learning, because if you look at the attention spans of the generation, I think micro learning is a huge space that can be looked at from changing the way students learn. And also personalization. Of course, there's immense scope in personalization and customized learning, or what we call just-in-time learning or point-of-sale learning. So those are some of the trends that I can envisage at this point in time. And of course, vernacular learning space is also one emerging one.
Thanks, Jasmine. How about you, Satya? What do you see as one or two trends our startups should look at?
I think focus on sports tech, blended with, education may be one of the areas which can actually act as, a game changer. Second is, I think, maybe a buddy tutor concept for, helping the children, to keep themselves on track, or their exams are coming up, their extra, a lot of unit tests are happening. So maybe somebody to actually an AI, basically, as Rahul said, a lot can be done on the AI using AI for this segment, and also maybe on the marketplace side for the individual personalized tutor side. There's a lot of things which can be done on the EdTech space from the EdTech Unicorns, basically, because they can offer this as one of the channels. This is, I think, is what is going to come up.
Thanks, Satya. For the last question from my side, I just want to ask each one of you to give maybe 1 or 2 sentences, Gyan, quick tips for the startup founders in the audience on how to survive in this EdTech space. Jasmine, you want to go first? Couple of quick sentences on advice.
I think looking at the scope and opportunity available in the market, I think EdTech startups can definitely go wild as far as innovation is concerned. And that's where I think the more innovative products and solutions that can be put up in the market, there would be larger potential for the startups to create a niche segment for themselves.
Thanks, Jasmine. How about you, Anjali? Couple of quick sentences of advice.
I would just say one, I think just avoid death by CAC. I think as easy it is for us to talk about building digital products. I think one thing is death by CAC. Just it is becoming increasingly hard to separate the signal from all the noise, and just avoid death by CAC and build products that CAC isn't coming down, so LTV needs to go up. So do think those 4 steps ahead as you're building. Yeah.
That's a very sobering piece of advice. How about you, Satya? Any tips from you?
I think build customer-centric programs and build products which can actually have a demand rather than you penetrating into the market, because EdTech, that is what we have seen. The cost of customer acquisition is too high and LTV is too low. So that's what I feel.
Thanks, Satya. Vinesh told me we can take a couple of quick audience questions. I think there was one question about parents, which Anjali just answered, which is great. So the other question was about content. What space do you guys see for a content-based startup, content as a service, as in AR, VR content or games and things of that sort? Is there a good opportunity that any of you see over there for startups? Anyone want to jump at that? Content as a service, as a strategy for startups.
Maybe I could quickly chime in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Okay. Can I go ahead? All right. No, definitely. I think there's massive opportunity, especially if schools reopen up and given NEP just on the horizon. I think if you could build almost content in shape of a platform, and also to allude to like a personalized platform of sorts where teachers could literally if it could be like a low code, no code, where you could literally like drag and drop content pieces and push it across to their students. I do think that given NEP, given parents' need for a more holistic education around, like I said, emotional skills, cell-based learning, life skills, etc., there is a massive opportunity on just pure play content as a service platforms to the offline K-12 schools. Yeah.
Satya, you want to say something?
I was about to say the same thing. Wait for the NEP, and then you can actually build around it. But if you are building something B2C, which is purely outside the curriculum, then probably you can. There's a massive opportunity for that. But again, build value-based products so that people come for you and don't try to push it. That's what I mean.
Thanks, Satya. And Rahul, sorry, I forgot to ask you that question on tips for the audience. So you have the last word now, Rahul.
I think Anjali nailed it, and I loved that advice. I think I'm gonna take a note of that as well. I think that was fantastic. But given most people on, most listeners are very early stage founders, I just want to say one thing, right? Don't get scared of very large players. While a Flipkart existed, a Lenskart emerged, and a Licious emerged, right? So not everything could be done by everyone. Find that niche, find that real problem. Your personal problem may not be a very large problem, while it may be a problem. So do speak with a lot of people before you literally start building. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Rahul, Satya, Anjali, Jasmine. Thanks to TiE Bangalore. Thanks to all of you in the audience for joining us. This has been a fantastic panel discussion. Thanks to all of you for listening to these key takeaways. I believe this whole thing is on YouTube also. You can see it again and take some more notes if you wish. Otherwise, I wish you all a great weekend and happy Diwali ahead and happy New Year. You heard it first over here. Thank you guys, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Madan.
So we have
Hey,
a
Madan,
couple of
thanks a lot.
startups who will be presenting what they do. So we
sorry.
request you guys to
Go
stay
ahead.
for another 5-10 minutes. Yeah, a couple of
go ahead.
startups.
Yeah, we'd love to see the startups.
Madan, we can see future tech behind you. We can see the innovation book behind you, and I mean, every time we meet you, we go back with a lot of zeal and motivation and enthusiasm. Thanks a lot for being moderating. Yeah.
Anytime. Thanks, Satya, for those kind words. Okay, Vinay, over to you. Let's hear from those remaining two startups.
Yes. So Aubrey, would you like to do your screen share? And then we'll have Lokap Sahu. Yeah, your co-host.
First of all, thank you so much, Madan, for your excellent moderation, and Rahul, Anjali, Jasmine, Satya, for an amazing set of wisdom, wise words. I've just taken down notes as you were speaking. I think the last few ones were amazing. Avoid death by cat. Anjali, thank you. Customer-centric products that solve real problems and pain. And that really is a segue for my slide, and I'll just share that slide with you. We've actually spent 16 years. We are Mumbaikars. We moved from Mumbai to Delhi. Primarily, we thought there was a big pain point that was not being solved then. And we spent 16 years. So in those 16, so first of all, Lorraine Music Academy, we bring, well, basically we believe that life begins with music. When a child is born, the first thing they hear are the lullabies of the mother, right? And that's why we call it our mother tongue. So life begins with music, and we make music education accelerated, affordable, and globally accessible. Now, what have we done in the last 16 years? It's been 16 years of research to make the world's best education tool edutainment platform. We have almost 3,000 alumni that are spread across the world. And one of the good things, the byproducts of what we've done so far in the national capital is that we have a new national education policy that we've been really pushing hard over 15 years at least, to finally see in 2020 a new national education policy where music education becomes a compulsory education in schools. An IIT graduate, a BTech student can take music as a minor subject. Now, what we do in these 16 years, we've also created a unique pedagogy which we have benchmarked globally, which is the best. The result speaks more than words. So for example, if it takes a global benchmark for a child to finish, let's say 12th standard before he goes to IIT, the equivalent of that in music is the same. 18 to 19 years is the benchmark. Through our pedagogy, we accelerate the process. We have 12-year-olds crossing that milestone. Now that is the moat. That is a competitive advantage. Even if someone has billions of dollars and spends the next decade trying to replicate what we have, we strongly believe, and our mentors strongly believe, that no one can do what we have done. So we have that strong advantage. We are completely online, cutting edge technology. We use all of this technology for personalized learning through AI and ML. So therefore it's scalable. And just to look at the revenue and the potential, it's a high average selling price of almost $1,000 per customer with a high LTV. And Anjali, thanks for that. We've really not wanted to spend on CAC. And so far it's been purely almost zero CAC, but we do need capital. And so we know there's need for capital for that. And my invitation to anyone who looks at this opportunity that we've built, we've sacrificed. It's a couple, two of us, two co-founders. We've sacrificed 16 years of our life. It's like an R&D lab ready for the vaccination, for a new pandemic. So we're ready, and the market size, the potential to really bite from is 88 billion. That's our estimate of the TAM. Thank you for listening. Happy to connect again for a deep dive session. Thank you, Ty Banglo and the team, Vijeta and the team. Really happy to answer any questions if there's any time left.
Yeah, so should we also listen to one more presentation and then go with a 5-minute Q&A? Yeah. So Lokap, you can, yeah.
Yes, am I audible and my screen visible?
Yes, you are.
Right. Thank you, everyone. Langify is your personal assistant, which analyzes your daily interactions, such as speaking, a meeting, for example, this meeting, or your phone call, your email writing, chatting, and gives you actionable nudges and improves you with the AI-assisted learning plan and feedback. So why Langify? Most of us don't have good education in school or colleges, which leads to lack of communication, which leads to lesser employability, and you lose out on a lot of business and personal life opportunities. So having good communication skill is a must nowadays, and we are solving that by analyzing whatever online interaction you're doing. So for example, Lockup is interacting right now with all of you, so I would be getting analyzed by Langify, and I would receive real-time nudges before the call that okay, Lookup, you make these type of mistakes, please be mindful about them during the call. In this fashion, I'll get real-time nudges ki you have said 3 times, or you are making too long pauses, or things like that. And after the call, we receive detailed feedback in terms of a trackable dashboard where you can track your historic performance, as well as you can play interactive games, and we can provide you personalized bespoke learning content with which you can improve your communication skills holistically. It's a giant market, and right now we are raising a pre-seed round with Titan Capital leading it. I'm happy to connect with anyone after the meeting. I'll post my details in the chat box. These are my details.
Yeah, so we'll just open it up for the panelists for the quick thoughts and any suggestions. Yeah, so we have Satya, Rahul, Anjali, Madan, who can share their insights and feedback.
Lookup, I think it's a great problem to go behind. I'm forgetting the name, but there are a couple of large companies in the space, although they target more sales teams, or essentially
yes.
Specifically like call center staff, because
yes.
They have to solve. Could you name them, and just wanted to understand how are you different from them?
Sure. They are billion-dollar giants. First of all, Gong, SalesCan, Wingman, all those sales assistant tool. So they are totally targeted and focused on making the sales happen. So when Lookup is selling to Rahul, what if Rahul asks, what is the warranty on this? So I should not get startled, and I should not go and open my book. Okay, what is the warranty? So AI will just give me, okay, tell this to Rahul, and Gong will help assist make the sales. So if you can divide the whole process, first step is hiring the sales partners, which in India you hire in bulk, then training them, then tracking their performance, then you either retain them or you fire them. And in India, attrition rate is 70% per month. And then the fifth aspect is actually making the sale happen. So Gong and everyone else is focused on the fifth aspect, which is actually making sales happen. Nobody cares about improving their communication skills, so which is where we are.
Got it.
I'm just keen to understand what is your GTM, and I know you mentioned about a bunch of supported platforms, but are you also looking at integrating this with some of the larger sales enablement tools?
Right. So we are initially not looking to directly go into sales. We have a 20+ MOU with colleges, clubs, 10+ partnerships with startups. So with that, we are launching our initial prototype. We are still a pre-seed company, by the way, and we're still figuring out our product market fit. Sales is absolutely one of them. We are in talks with a couple of call centers and BPOs as well. So, but we are trying to get there slowly, right? We're trying to offer it to the professionals first, the college students for their placement preparation, their IELTS TOEFL preparation first, and then we want to get into sales eventually. But that is not our primary focus right now.
Lookup.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Just trying to understand, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
You are currently raising a pre-seed round, also tying up with colleges so that there's enough data and train your algos, and then perhaps do a proper launch, if I may say that.
So we have a MVP ready right now, which is under pilot with 100 users as well. We are launching paid pilot with 2 firms as well. One is a IELTS TOEFL firm, one is a fintech startup. So the MVP is there in place. But of course, we need to refine our inner algorithm machine learning because everything works on AI engine. So right now we are on aggregate basis 80% accuracy with this offering. So we are offering it for free right now to everyone in individual capacity. If I have to give it to Rahul, I'll give it away free. But if I have to give it to Tai, I will charge them, right, as an organization. So with that data collected will improve our inner features as well as the data will maintain a data pipeline, will reduce the technology risk, right, will show to the investors and everyone else as well. See, 1,000 people are using it every day. So please incorporate it in TCS or Wipro at a large scale. So that is my goal. My goal is more towards B2B rather than B2C. I'm just using B2C for validation and de-risking the technology.
Got it.
Yeah, if all's good, let's have Vijita also on screen.
Hey guys, a very good evening or rather afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much, Vinay, for organizing this along with our wonderful panel. Thank you, Anjali. Thank you so much, Rahul. It's good to see you, buddy. And of course, Madan is always the source of energy, inspiration, and insights. And Aubrey and Lokap, great presentation. We wish you guys all the best. Lokap, why do you want to charge Thai? Yeah? We are poor people. Huh? I heard that. Actually, like, Arey Baba, what is this? When did that happen?